Hey there, athletes. Coach John Ferry here from Team Wilpers. Excited as always to welcome you back to the Fall Run Challenge here of 2024. I feel like we've been gone for a minute. Very excited to kickstart another training challenge here. The main goal of this challenge, as is usual, is to improve the result of a 20-minute distance test over the course of a 6-week period. Hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun in the process, and the challenge is absolutely designed for athletes at all ability levels. So it should be very adaptable, very accommodating, depending upon what level of running you've been doing. The ways we're planning to attack this goal this time around is endurance running, combination of striders and drills, hill repeats, short speed intervals, and endurance race paces, which kind of translates out to our marathon and half marathon pace, if you will. Not to mention, I promise to get everybody kind of tuned up and ready to approach some of the turkey trot time and turkey trot-ish season. These are a lot of races in and around the 5K to 5 mile marks. As we kind of are starting to come off the back end of the endurance training season, we're very much entering the endurance race season right now. A lot of the big fall marathons coming up here. But the training season is starting to move definitely towards the shorter races, which is a very exciting time of year. So energy zone requirements for these races still include in a major way endurance. These are absolutely endurance races first and foremost, but also a really steady dose of VO2 max. So we're going to be putting a little bit of speed intervals in here over the 6-week period to not only build our endurance, but get a little bit of that high-end cap as well, be more prepared for some of those faster races. Before we get too deep in the week ahead, I want to give a big hello to our Team Wilpers athletes over in Berlin, getting ready for the Berlin Marathon. Hope you have an amazing time at the Team Wilpers Shakeout Run tomorrow. Bring your friends, family, whatever. Would love to see. I won't personally be seeing you there, but I'm excited for you all to see each other there in advance of the race. We'll certainly be cheering you on from afar. With that, just a reminder that we're only a couple of weeks away from both Chicago and New York City marathons. So Team Wilpers will have events in Chicago, a little shakeout run and meetup the Saturday before the Sunday race in Chicago, and the Friday before New York City Marathon here in New York City. So hope to see you out there. Certainly, whether you're in town running the race, etc., you don't have to be participating in the race to come to the shakeout. The more, the merrier. A little bit of housekeeping here now that we're back at the top end of a challenge. So I want to talk about the challenge portal a little bit. So the challenge portal will have a few things. Very importantly, we'll have your schedule for the week. So you'll need to click in, see that schedule for the week, go ahead and plan it out in advance. 2, it's going to have your paces in that pace box. And the paces provided are going to be directly based upon the result of that 20-minute distance test, which you'll need to input using the little gear icon within the box to generate those paces for your challenge. And then it has the square to check off by each workout to claim that you did that workout. Why that square is so important, as many of you know very well to me, is that the best way to put yourself in a position to be successful is to chase that 100% completion percentage. So get in there, check that box, chase the 100% completion percentage. That, if nothing else, should be your absolute goal at the end of the 6 weeks. Will have been to complete 100% of the workouts that you committed to here in week 1. A little note on strength. So for those utilizing the strength supplement to this programming, this is another 6-week program designed by our strength coach, Ava Fagan. Should really enjoy this progression. It's just a reminder that you now have to sign up for it separately under the strength tab. So it's still the fall running strength program designed to accompany our fall running training program. You just need to sign up for it separately under the strength tab. But definitely check that out. It is a great progression. Now to our week 1 workout. So naturally, we're going to talk about the 20-minute distance test. So as indicated in its title, is a test in which you run as far as possible in 20 minutes. So this is a max effort test, not a progression run, and not really a workout, but a 20-minute max test. This is an intro test, and so you cannot do poorly. It just establishes the baseline for this particular challenge. It can be done indoors, outdoors, treadmill, track, road, etc. Up to you. what I would suggest is doing the test in the same kind of setting that you're going to do most of your workouts. So if you do all your workouts inside, probably test inside. If you do your workouts outside, test outside. If you mix workouts, some inside, some outside, etc., I strongly recommend testing outside. I think it's going to give you a much better kind of guideline for that test. So I mentioned it is a baseline test, so it can only go well. However, there are a few things you can do to help prep and prepare to be most successful. And one, just come in rested. Definitely don't approach this thing when you're already fatigued, tired, sick, etc. It's not going to generate the results you want. So you need to be rested. No need to overthink it. You start running pretty hard, 20 minutes later you stop, you record your distance, and that's our baseline for this test. So no need to overthink it, no need for the perfect route, no need for the perfect day, shoes, etc. You just go give a nice hard 20 minutes. Finally, no holding back. It does require good, hard, honest effort to get the kind of the best guideline for your paces. So these are the paces that are going to dictate the next 6 weeks of work. So you need 20 hard focused minutes to get the most out of the next month and a half. So I think that's a pretty good trade. Option B, if you've tested within the last few weeks and feel good about the result of that test, you can move on to the 30-minute interval run, use your last result. So we're gonna start with this option for a speed interval run here. It's gonna be short VO2 max segments to get started. So we're designed to push intensity a little bit here, kind of get that stride open, a little bit of pop. Want to push pace to find that, as I mentioned, find some intensity, find some efficiency, work on our leg speed and our turnover, but this is not designed to beat you up too bad. Don't let the VO2 max be intimidating or confuse you into thinking this is a hard workout. These are very short, relatively hard intervals, and really what they're primed to do is get you set up for the main set actually. So once your legs are fired up and really primed, we're gonna move into that tempo block to finish out the workout here. And really the goal is that those little short speed intervals, kind of like we might utilize a strider in a warm-up, but these are just a little bit longer at the top end of the workout, are actually going to make you really feel more comfortable once you come into that tempo block. Hopefully it's feeling like a real cruise interval and you just settle in and are surprised how easy it is that you're running that tempo segment. Run number 2, hill repeat. So main set of it, 1 minute incline, 1 minute on incline, 1 minute on flat and or back down the hill, return to the starting location. So in this workout, we're trying to work on power, we're trying to work on efficiency. And in general, I think this is just a great week 1 workout. So for anyone who was in the end of summer challenge, we're not gonna do a big like hill progression like we did over the first block in that, but this is a great way to kind of come back in because we're really engaging the muscles of the posterior chain, and we're really priming your body and your legs to be a little bit more geared up for some harder workouts to follow. So if maybe you took a couple like easy weeks in between the end of summer and the start of fall, these are both great workouts to really get primed to come back in and then to kind of excel over the weeks ahead. Naturally, we finish off the week as always with our long run. Not so long in this particular guidance here. It's endurance run start to finish, so it's an opportunity to log miles, have fun, not really worry about a workout structure, but it should genuinely feel easy, beginning, middle, and end. So always feel free to reduce the effort, reduce the pace, even if you drop out of your pace range. It all depends upon how you're feeling, and it should feel easy throughout. You always want to walk away knowing that you have much more to give. For the many of you out there that are looking at fall half marathons, etc., you're going to naturally have to advance your long run progression ahead of this guidance. So this is not going to quite cut it for races of that distance. The midweek absolutely can apply, but that long run progression you're going to have to take a look at for yourself. So let's jump into some questions that came up via the Facebook group. Question 1 was, my real question is, how does one get over the fear of running faster and faster? I have dreams of running a sub 5-minute mile again, but there's also a mental block that says there's no way. I'm 36 seconds from that goal as of now. So maybe a rhetorical question, maybe not, but I think it actually applies to a lot of us in all different race distances. And so the way ultimately we find these speed improvements is you start break it down in very small segments. So the mile is a great way to start thinking about it, but then we'll figure out how to translate it to different race distances. So for the mile in particular, we look at energy zones. What are the energy zone requirements here? And we're really thinking it's endurance. 100% is an endurance race. It's VO2 max. It's going to be a little bit of anaerobic capacity for sure. So those are the energy zones we're looking at improving right away. So a very funny kind of, we'll call it a mistake. A thing I see a lot in runners that are trying to improve in speed is that they keep running the same distance over and over again, doing the same training to run the same distance, and then are kind of hoping for a different result. Meanwhile, getting a little bit older each time, which is not a great way to go about it when you think about it that way. But I bet all of us, if we were self-critical and look back at our training cycle, can probably identify some periods where that was the exact training model we were working on. So when I think about the mile and taking a lot of time off that mile pace, I don't think about the mile initially. I think about, well, can I run 100 meters at this pace? Could I run 100 meters now 8 times? So that's the total distance of a mile at this pace with breaks in between. Once I can run 100 meters at 5-minute pace, then can I run 150 meters? Can I run 200 meters? I start to try to figure out how long I can extend that out. While I'm doing that, I focus on the 100 meter again, coming to 450, to 440, to 430. But I'm breaking it down in these very small segments here. If I can't hit it, if there's nothing I can do to get there initially, I can do one of two things. I can reestablish my goal a little bit slower at 100 meters, but simultaneously I have to break it down and start going 50 meters at that faster high-end goal, because I've got to learn to hit that pace. And the way you do it is you truncate the intervals to get down to a spot where it does become manageable, and you can start to really find some power and some comfort in that speed. So in general, you have to get comfortable with the pace over shorter distances and then translate it to longer distances. You're never just gonna all of a sudden just get more and more and more efficient without ever, to infinity, by just constantly doing the same training, hoping to get more efficient with time. So when I look at it and I think about it in a 10K, half marathon, marathon training, just races of different duration, it's kind of the same thing I was saying. I over and over and over again see athletes train the exact same races, exact same distance all the time. And what I really, and this is a very topical time because we're coming into this period, but what I really try to push my marathoners and half marathoners to do coming into their off season and thinking about their next 52-week calendar is plan a time to really go after some miles, 5Ks, like a season. It takes more than a single event in 52 weeks to start getting competent at this. It takes 12, 20-week training blocks where you're racing 4 or 5 times to start really finding some speed and efficiency in those shorter periods. Then you take some of that newfound speed, that power, and you move it back into your endurance cycle, and you start to find breakthroughs there. But ultimately, kind of old adage, to run fast, you have to run fast. You need to kind of break down the intervals, get them a little bit smaller, run harder in that, and then build upon that. Hopefully that helps. Our next question here was, any tips for someone running a half and the weather forecast is way too dang hot? And unfortunately, there are going to be a lot of people that are hit by this in the weeks and months to follow. A lot of people have great prep periods only to arrive at their race and have suboptimal conditions. And while I am very sad and sorry for you, it happens to all of us. And really the thing you have to do is be prepared to throw in your race plan that you had going in, whether that was fuel setting or pace setting. It's time to just kind of throw in the trash and reassess what the day is going to look like. So for heat in particular here, step A, unfortunately, is looking at slowing down. The heat brings us all back down a little bit. No matter how proficient or inefficient you are in heat, it's going to take a little bit of wind out of our sails, if you will. So you're looking at slowing your pace to be able to manage your effort better over the course of the day. Item 2 is just modifying your nutrition. You might need to be having additional fluids, possibly additional electrolytes or salts, in order to have better fluid retention over that distance. The longer the race, the more heat has a negative impact on it. For example, 5K, very little negative impact. Marathon, huge amount of negative impact, as not only minutes but hours go by, it's going to affect you more and more and more and more and more. So ultimately, the good thing is that most of us have come out of a summer training block where you've been doing these long runs in very warm, hot, humid conditions. There is absolutely a time and a place in a race situation where if you get those same conditions, it becomes an easy pace only race. So you can certainly pivot your race goal to other races. It doesn't mean you have to waste your whole season. What I would do is to run the race much easier, adjust my time goal. I'd be possibly considering pivoting to another race later in the year where maybe I can find more suboptimal or more optimal conditions to go and really give a good hard effort. But unfortunately, it's kind of throwing in the being willing to alter your race strategy and look at it a little bit differently. Set yourself up for success based upon the conditions of that day. Next question here was 3 weeks after Chicago, I have New York City Marathon. Do I go back to an all access plan? What do I do after Chicago? Should I return to week 16 after Chicago, et cetera, et cetera? So I'm going to kind of broad spectrum this here, and we're looking at a 2-race, 3-week, and in particular, a double marathon 3-week training plan. So when you're doing this double marathon in the fall, and it could be Chicago to New York to Philly, et cetera, the principles remain the same here. In a 3-week window, all you're looking to do is recover from marathon 1 in time for marathon 2. So despite the fact that there's another race coming up 3 weeks away, I would take off the week following Chicago or marathon 1 entirely, 100%, no running. If going back to the principle I stated, you have to recover as fast as possible in order to get ready for race number 2. You need to take recovery into overdrive. And the best way to do that is not compression, cold plunges, hot heat therapy, etc. It's just rest and no training. That's going to be your best two ways to go about maximizing recovery, especially there in week 1, where you've taken pretty serious strain to your body. For week 2 and 3, repeating your initial race taper is not a bad strategy. You're still in a recovery mode, so your muscles are not going to bounce back until week 2 or 3. Your tendons and ligaments take even longer than muscles, so you are still very much in a recovery mode throughout the whole 3-week period. Your training window for adaptations is closed, so none of the workouts you do really from the end of Chicago to the arriving at New York City starting line are going to have any impact on your fitness at all. All you're ultimately trying to do is recover, prevent detraining as best as possible, and get yourself as healthy as possible onto the New York City starting line. So take it incredibly easy. Really, all you just want to be as healthy as possible on marathon starting line number 2 in order to give yourself a good shot at success there. Well, friends, that is all here for week 1. So excited to be back with you here for the start of this fall challenge, and can't wait to see you again next week. And one final, good luck to all our runners out in Berlin. Have a great night.